Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed by the Central Electricity Board that a get-together was organized at the SVICC for its 1,800 employees in December 2020. This involved expenses related to rental of SVICC and services of fire, police, security, and first aiders amounting to 823,413 rupees, transport facilities for 1,800 employees for an amount of 254,500, and cost of catering services for the 1,800 employees stood at 3,594,000. The total cost to gather the 1,800 employees for the annual end-of-year get-together at the SVICC, including associated standby services, was 5,243,650.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. C'est étonnant, Monsieur le Ministre. Nous sommes en plein confinement de l'année dernière jusqu'à cette année-ci. L'économie est au ralentissement. Les Mauriciens en général passent par des moments extrêmement difficiles. Le gouvernement, tous les jours, demande à la population de se serrer les ceintures. Et le CEB dépense plus de 5 millions de roupies dans un end-of-year party extravagante et coûteuse. Monsieur le ministre, est-ce que vous pensez qu'en ce temps difficile, en ce temps de coupure, vous pensez que le CEB, qui tombe, le nouveau ministre du CEB, je dois bien dire, avec un nouveau directeur, est-ce que vous pensez dépenser 5 millions de roupies pour une fête extravagante et coûteuse? Est-ce normal en ce temps de Covid, en ce temps difficile?
Monsieur le Président, premièrement, je dois informer à la Chambre que le budget alloué l'année dernière pour cette fin d'année est 2 millions de roupies moins que le budget qui avait été alloué l'année d'avant, c'est-à-dire en 2019. Déjà, il y a une baisse au niveau des dépenses. Deuxièmement, Monsieur le Président, permettez-moi, l'honorable membre focalise son intervention uniquement sur la dimension pécuniaire de cette fête. Il fait l'impasse complète sur l'aspect social et convivial de cette fête. Il faut, Monsieur le Président, comprendre que les employés de cette organisation, les 1800 employés de cette organisation font partie d'un service essentiel et ils ont travaillé extrêmement dur, qu'ils soient membres du staff ou les travailleurs qui sont sur le terrain. Ils ont travaillé sous d'énormes pressions l'année dernière et personnellement, Monsieur le Président, je pense qu'ils méritent un moment de convivialité et un moment où, entre collègues, ils peuvent passer, allons dire, quelques heures à converser entre eux. C'est pourquoi, Monsieur le Président, que moi, honnêtement, je pense qu'ils méritent ce moment-là. Et je reconfirme que le budget a été réduit afin qu'ils puissent organiser cette fête.
Could I ask the Honourable Minister, since we're talking about an end-of-year party, what's the name of the company that obtained the contract for catering services, and what was the amount of money spent given to the caterer, and was there a proper appel d'offres, and how was the selection made?
I understand that for the catering services, the name of the company is Meal Express Limited. And the amount I said in my main reply is of the order of 3,594,000.
Monsieur le Président, j'ai écouté avec attention et je suppose que la population tout entière a écouté avec attention la réponse du ministre. Personne ne refuse aux employés du CEB de fêter les fêtes de fin d'année entre collègues. Personne. Nous sommes, Monsieur le ministre, j'y viens. Nous sommes en pleine Covid depuis l'année dernière. Le pays passe par des moments extrêmement difficiles. Les Mauriciens arrivent difficilement à payer leur bill. Monsieur le ministre, Monsieur le ministre, est-ce que vous serez d'accord pour prendre l'argent dédié aux fêtes, les 4, 5, 6 millions de roupies, pour alimenter pour les plus vulnérables de notre société, ceux en bas de l'échelle, un fonds, un tarif Covid-19 spécial pour les plus démunis de la société, cet argent-là, Monsieur le ministre?
Monsieur le Président, je suis assez étonné parce qu'on a déjà annoncé les mesures qui vont venir soulager les consommateurs, que ce soit du CEB ou de la CWA pendant cette période de confinement. Mais ce qui m'étonne encore plus, Monsieur le Président, c'est que je vois, Monsieur le Président, c'est tout ce que les membres fondateurs du parti dont l'honorable membre et président ont milité, ont donné leur vie pour l'avancement des travailleurs de ce pays, pour le bien-être des travailleurs de ce pays. Alors, je pense qu'on est peut-être sur la même longueur d'onde avec l'honorable membre pour comprendre que ces travailleurs de cette organisation méritent de pouvoir passer un moment, après une année difficile, où ils se sont donnés à fond afin d'assurer que les consommateurs ont un service de qualité pendant cette période de confinement. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
But don't repeat yourself.
Yes.
Make sure.
Oui, Monsieur le Président. Dernière question. Monsieur le ministre, une fête avec de la retenue, d'abord. Est-ce que le ministre peut prendre l'engagement, pour cette année-ci du moins, laissez 2020, pour cette année-ci, on est dans 2021, nous passons par des moments toujours difficiles. Est-ce que le ministre du CEB peut prendre l'engagement que la fête de fin d'année du CEB sera faite dans la retenue et non pas dépenser 5 millions de roupies pour une fête?
Est-ce que je comprends, Monsieur le Président, que l'honorable membre est contre que les travailleurs de la CEB puissent passer un moment, c'est un jour pendant 365 jours, Monsieur le Président, où ils ont droit à passer un moment socialement et, allons dire, dans la convivialité ensemble. Mais qui a parlé? Quelle retenue? Je comprends pas,
This question has been canvassed already. Honorable Sikian.
B149.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as the House is aware, it is universally recognized that SMEs operate both in the formal and informal sectors, whereby they contribute significantly to job creation and economic development. The SME sector is highly dynamic and heterogeneous in nature. Mauritius is no exception. It is estimated that there are around 175,000 active SMEs operating in different sectors of the economy, ranging from local corner street food operators to high-end self-employed programmers working for foreign customers and export-oriented enterprises. According to the latest estimates from Statistics Mauritius, I am advised that MSMEs are contributing to nearly 50% of total employment creation. The number of SMEs operating in the formal sector stood at 138,553, out of which 81% are micro-enterprises, 18% are small enterprises, and 1% are medium enterprises. Out of these 138,553 enterprises, only 21% are registered with SME registration unit of my ministry, being given that registration is not mandatory under current legislation. According to the UNDP Socio-Economic Impact Assessment Report on COVID-19 in Mauritius, dated October 2020, during the lockdown period, the fall in informal sector employment has been more pronounced as compared to formal sector employment. The report also highlights that the disruption of economic activities due to the lockdown would have had a significant impact on output and employment. It was estimated that for period ended December 2020, almost 55,000 jobs across the economy would have been at risk without government's first of its kind effective recovery plan and schemes. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is significant to emphasize the whole area of measures that government has put in place to mitigate the impact and likely distress caused by COVID-19 and reduce the social imprints resulting from economic adversity, closures, and job losses. Some 14,600 SMEs, covering around 90,300 employees, have benefited from the wage assistance scheme for the months of March 2020 to March 2021, for an amount of 3.9 billion rupees. In addition, some 1,638 SMEs have benefited from the Plan de soutien of DBM for a total amount of approximately 807 million rupees during the same period. Mr. Speaker, sir, as the House is aware, as from 19th March this year, government has introduced the following two additional loan schemes, which are being managed by the Development Bank of Mauritius. The SME interest-free loan scheme of 100,000 rupees for SMEs with turnover not exceeding 15 million rupees. The loan is repayable over a period of 8 years, including a moratorium of 5 years on repayment, and 1 million rupee SME COVID-19 special support scheme, where SMEs with turnover not exceeding 15 million rupees would be able to apply for unsecured loans of up to 1 million rupees at an interest rate of 0.5% per annum. The loan is repayable over a period of 5 years, including a moratorium of 1 year on repayment. In addition, SME Mauritius is providing the following support to SMEs to ensure their continued resilience. 5 different schemes are being implemented, and as at date, over 570 SMEs employ some 3,500 people, and having a joint turnover of 2.5 billion rupees benefited from grants to the tune of 28 million rupees. And some 1,500 SMEs have benefited from capacity building programs for continuous upgrading of knowledge, acquisition, new competencies. Mr. Speaker, sir, according to a report on impact of COVID-19 on businesses in Mauritius by Business Mauritius and Statistics Mauritius in December 2020, some 22% of SMEs in the formal sector, based on a sample of 2,707 entities, have released at least one employee since the outbreak of COVID-19. Based on information available from the Ministry of Labour, Human Resource Development and Training, I am advised that around 10,000 employees have lost their job due to either downsizing or closure of firms. Given that some sectors of the economy, such as the travel, tourism, and catering sectors, are at a halt, SMEs operating therein are at present not in operation, and it cannot be said that they have closed down. However, from information gathered from the Ministry of Labour, Human Resource Development and Training, it is noted that 40 SMEs have closed down. Mr. Speaker, sir, SME Mauritius is carrying out a comprehensive assessment of the impact and challenges caused by COVID-19 on SMEs, following which additional strategies and supportive measures to uplift SMEs would be implemented.
Monsieur le Président, est-ce que le ministre peut nous informer quelles sont les mesures prises par le gouvernement pour aider les employés licenciés?
As I have stated earlier, there has been the plan de soutien from the DBM, namely moratorium on all banks' existing loans, moratorium on all lease facilities, waiver of 50% of rental due upon request for months of March, April, deferral of rent payments for tenants upon request, new loan schemes, All these are geared towards maintaining employees in the employment in the different SMEs.
Can the Minister inform the House if SME Mauritius is working at its full capacity, or does it intend to recruit, bearing in mind the new challenges that it has to face?
No, there is no intention to recruit more staff at the moment.
May I know from the Honourable Minister, what would happen after 30th of June when the law which prevents SME from making redundant workers on economic grounds without seeking first help from MIC comes to an end? Has his ministry anticipated how many SMEs will have to lay off people after 30th of June?
Well, we are thinking over that, and given that the government is coming with the forthcoming budget, there will be measures announced in that respect.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. J'ai cru entendre l'honorable ministre mentionner qu'il y a un très faible pourcentage des SME qui sont enregistrés avec la SME Mauritius. Est-ce que pendant la Covid, ou depuis l'advent de la Covid, depuis l'année dernière, est-ce que ce nombre a augmenté, c'est-à-dire le nombre des SME qui s'enregistrent avec la SME Mauritius, et sinon, que pensez-vous, pourquoi est la raison, pourquoi c'est aussi nombre très faible de SME qui sont enregistrés avec la SME Mauritius?
Well, as I said earlier, it is not mandatory, it is not compulsory for any SME to register with SME Mauritius, but I can add that from March last year to March this year, some 4,300 SMEs have been registered with SME Mauritius.
Next question.
Dans les 175 000 PME, combien de ces PME sont aujourd'hui inactives?
As I said, we cannot assess the number of SMEs that are not operating at this moment, given that some have simply suspended their operation. If I take the case of the tourist industry, they have not closed down. I take the case of tour operators, car rental, tourist boutique, restaurant, and all that. Once, and given how the situation evolved, how the situation unfolded with regard to COVID-19, I am sure that these operators will resume their activities soonest.
No more supplementary. Next question.
Et 150.
Monsieur le Président, ce gouvernement a à cœur l'intérêt des travailleurs, qu'ils soient salariés ou indépendants. C'est dans cette perspective que le Self-Employed Assistance Scheme a récemment été réactivé. Pour rappel, ce régime d'assistance sans précédent avait initialement été mis en place en mars 2020. Il a été pensé comme un soutien financier aux travailleurs indépendants qui n'étaient pas en mesure d'exercer en raison du confinement imposé à ce moment-là. Après la levée du confinement le 31 mai 2020, le gouvernement a décidé pour juin 2020 et les mois suivants de maintenir cette aide financière aux opérateurs du secteur du tourisme. Dans le contexte du confinement décrété à partir du 10 mars 2021, le gouvernement a pris la décision d'accorder à nouveau cette aide pour le mois complet aux travailleurs indépendants opérant dans le secteur du tourisme et pour un demi-mois à ceux qui opèrent dans les autres secteurs. En outre, le gouvernement a octroyé une aide financière supplémentaire exceptionnelle sous la forme d'une subvention unique de 10 000 roupies à tous les travailleurs indépendants enregistrés auprès de la MRA. Cela représente en tout plus de 200 000 travailleurs indépendants. Ainsi, pour le mois de mars 2021, un travailleur indépendant opérant dans le secteur du tourisme a obtenu ou obtiendra, sous peu, une aide financière totale de 15 287 roupies. Cela représente 10 000 roupies sous forme de subvention unique et 5 287 roupies dans le cadre du Self-Employed Assistance Scheme. Un travailleur indépendant opérant dans un autre secteur que celui du tourisme a quant à lui bénéficié ou bénéficiera d'une aide financière totale de 12 644 roupies. Cela comprend 10 000 roupies sous forme de subvention unique et 2 644 roupies dans le cadre du Self-Employed Assistance Scheme. Pour faciliter la procédure, la MAE a automatiquement effectué le paiement aux travailleurs indépendants éligibles sur la base de leur demande précédente. Un travailleur indépendant qui, n'ayant pas fait de demande antérieure, a toutefois eu la possibilité d'effectuer sa demande en ligne. La MAE a commencé à effectuer les paiements à partir du 20 mars 2021. À ce jour, les paiements à plus de 211 000 travailleurs indépendants dans le cadre du Self-Employed Assistance Scheme ont été effectués pour un montant total de 564 millions de roupies. En ce qui concerne la subvention unique, la MAE a versé 2,04 milliards de roupies à 203 653 000 travailleurs indépendants. Monsieur le Président, le gouvernement a versé pour le mois de mars 2021 un montant total sans précédent de 2,6 milliards de roupies aux travailleurs indépendants. En ce qui concerne les demandes rejetées, j'ai été informé par la MAE que quelques 72 474 demandes n'ont pas été approuvées. Je tiens à préciser que toute personne qui s'estime lésée par le rejet de sa demande peut soumettre une requête à la MAE par téléphone ou par courrier. Toutes les requêtes reçues sont analysées et, si besoin est, des informations supplémentaires sont sollicitées auprès du demandeur. Si sur la base des informations supplémentaires fournies ou la suite des modifications apportées par le demandeur à sa demande initiale, il s'avère que la personne est éligible au régime, le paiement est alors effectué par la MAE. Je tiens à rassurer l'honorable membre sur le fait que toutes, je dis bien toutes, les requêtes émanant des travailleurs indépendants seront dûment prises en considération. Merci.
Est-ce que le ministre est au courant que beaucoup de ces genuine self-employed, dont leurs demandes ont été rejetées, peinent à trouver de quoi manger actuellement?
Monsieur le Président, cela concerne, comme je l'ai dit, des milliers, centaines de milliers de personnes. La MAE est en train de s'occuper de cette question. Ils sont en train de verser directement sur le compte des travailleurs indépendants. Et j'ai dit aussi, bien sûr, peut-être qu'il y a des erreurs. L'erreur est humaine. C'est pour cela qu'ils ont un mécanisme d'appel pour qu'on puisse retravailler dessus. Et c'est ce qu'ils sont en train de faire. Et si jamais, Monsieur le Président, l'honorable membre est au courant de certains self-employed qui ont des difficultés pour s'enregistrer ou qui a eu un problème avec la MAE, je serai disposé à recevoir ces courriers et à travailler dessus. Merci.
May I know from the Honourable Minister whether consideration will be given to reviewing the eligibility criteria, because a number of people who receive social aid, who are very poor, while getting the social aid, they were also having a job. Now they are not eligible, and this is causing a lot of hardship to the poorest members of society. So whether the Honourable Minister can reconsider the eligibility criteria to get this self-employed assistance scheme benefit.
Monsieur le Président, je remercie l'honorable membre pour sa question. C'est un processus dynamique. Ce qu'on avait mis en place en mars 2020, on l'a remis en place en mars 2021 et on revoit les critères. Bien sûr, si jamais on doit modifier les critères, on le fera. Mais c'est au fur et à mesure que le processus a été enclenché et qu'on regarde ce qui se passe par rapport au paiement. On ne peut pas dès maintenant dire qu'on va modifier le protocole, qu'on va modifier le processus. On travaille avec les différents ministères, la MAE est en train de recevoir et on est en train de vérifier cas par cas les demandes qui ont été rejetées. Et après cela, s'il faut modifier, si jamais on voit qu'il y a un défaut dans le système, bien sûr, on va modifier le système.
Président, le ministre a informé que 72 000 cas ont été rejetés. Quelles sont les raisons principales? Est-ce que le Premier ministre peut nous dire quelles sont les raisons principales de ce rejet?
Les raisons principales, c'est que beaucoup de ces demandes émanent de personnes qui travaillent déjà. Donc ça, c'est la principale raison qu'on a reçue. Il y a aussi ceux qui touchent les pensions, le BRP par exemple. Ils ne sont pas éligibles parce qu'ils sont retraités, donc ils ne sont pas éligibles. Et il y a d'autres raisons, par exemple ceux qui effectuent les études tertiaires à plein temps et qui ont fait cette demande. Donc ce sont des critères qu'on a établis par rapport à la mise en place de ce système. C'est sûr, je le redis, tout système, on retravaille en permanence ce système. Et si jamais il faut améliorer, on l'améliorera.
Next speaker.
Yes, B151.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in reply to the private notice question on 23rd March 2021, I informed the House that Mauritius will be provided with vaccines of different brands and at different time intervals, either as donations or procured on a commercial basis, or as follows. The COVAX facility, 507,200 doses, of which 24,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccines have already been delivered, that is on 21st April 2021. Serum Institute of India, 100,000 doses of Covishield vaccines. It's a donation that has already been received. Serum Institute of India, again, 100,000 doses of Covishield vaccines, procured, already received. Serum Institute of India, 200 doses of Covishield vaccines on order, delivery to be confirmed. Bharat Technology, 200,000 doses of Covaxins, already received. Russian Development Investment Fund, Russia, 1,250,000 doses of Sputnik vaccine on order, delivery to be confirmed. African Union, 48,451 doses of Pfizer vaccines and 151,231 doses of Johnson & Johnson vaccine on order, delivery to be confirmed. China, 100,000 doses of Sinopharm vaccines, donation, awaiting delivery. In addition to the above, my ministry is also proposing to procure 500,000 Sinovac vaccines from China and 1 million Sputnik vaccines. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to part A of the question, I am informed that approval of the WHO is still awaited for the following vaccines: Sinopharm, Sinovac, and Sputnik. As far as Covaxin is confirmed, I am informed it has not applied for WHO approval, as the vaccine has been approved by the Drugs Controller General of India for emergency use. In Mauritius, the Trade and Therapeutic Committee and the Pharmacy Board have also approved the emergency use of the vaccine. As regard to part B and C of the question, Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I am tabling the information requested. With regard to part D of the question, there is no local supplier of any COVID-19 vaccines. My ministry is procuring all the vaccines through diplomatic channels or through pool procurement channels such as COVAX Facility, Gavi Alliance, and Africa Medical Supplies Platform of the African Union.
Yes, thank you. We are grateful to the Republic of India to be able to supply vaccines to us amid this war of vaccine that is going on around the world. Can I ask the Honourable Minister, in regard to Covaxin, in which he said in the PNQ that he has referred to just now, that a purchase order of 1 million doses were made to the company, for which 200,000 was already delivered, and 100,000 already vaccinated, and 100,000 awaiting second dose. Whether, like me, when I was preparing for my additional question, he has gone through international press and see that there are some technical issues with regards to Covaxin reported a few days ago, 3-4 days ago. And I here quote the New York Times, which said that last week...
Question.
Yeah, my question has already started. And I'm finishing it.
It's too long a question. Yeah. It's a supplementary question.
Yeah. Last week, prosecutors in Brazil sought the immediate suspension of Covaxin purchases after the government has signed a contract to buy 20 million doses.
You're taking
this is my question.
Debate time. I don't.
This is my
Do
question.
you have a supplementary question? Let me hear it.
Can I ask the Honourable Minister whether he has taken cognizance, like I have done in international press, that there are some technical issues on Covaxin?
That's it.
Mr. Speaker, sir, different countries are issuing different, concerning different vaccines, they are issuing their own observations and their own conclusions. Mauritius will still be doing whatever we have done, and if the time comes, then we'll decide about it.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. In regard to the first dose of vaccine that has already been administered to each and everyone in Mauritius, can I ask the Honourable Minister if he can give a guarantee to the House and the nation that the same vaccine will be administered as second dose to each and everyone?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I give the guarantee to the House that the same vaccine will be administered for the second dose.
Oh, I can see Honorable Boda there. Advance party of government there.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, Mr. Speaker, sir, for your information.
You start by deputy.
May I? Sorry about that. May I ask the Honourable Minister whether he can confirm that on the summary and finance assistance approved under the COVID-19 Solidarity Fund, a sum of 400 million has already been spent at the 18th of March 2021 for the vaccination program. The fact that we have already received a donation of 100,000 doses, can the Minister confirm this sum and have a breakdown of this sum, how 400 million has been spent as a date?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, I think this question should be addressed. I understand again, he has not been addressing questions to this side of the House. If he's going to address me a proper question, I'll give all the details of the amount being spent.
Last supplementary.
Yes. Okay.
Honorable Jabal.
Since the Minister is asking for...
Honorable Jabal, don't embarrass the mover of the question there. Don't embarrass him.
Yes. We heard in and outside the House that there are difficulties to procure vaccines. Can I ask the Honourable Minister whether it is being envisaged now for some people to have their second doses, like he has just mentioned, while others will be awaiting for their first doses? And my specific question will be, how does that affect the herd immunity that the government is targeting by, I think, August, if I'm not wrong?
Mr. Speaker, sir, what I understand from Honourable Member, when are we receiving the next dose of the vaccines? The first dose of the vaccine for the next priority groups, with time, once we get the confirmation order of the vaccines that we have, or I've already mentioned, obviously the vaccination campaign will keep on proceeding. And that will not affect our herd immunity, what we are proposing to do.
Next, PQ.
Yes, B152.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as the House is aware, every year my ministry undertakes the procurement of anti-influenza vaccines and to administer same to the target groups comprising of the elderly persons aged 60 plus and above, children with disabilities attending specialized schools, and all inmates of charitable institutions and private homes. In view of the number of positive cases and the extension of the confinement up to the end of April 2021, my ministry is currently working on a plan to administer flu vaccine to our senior citizens, children with disabilities, and inmates of charitable institutions. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to the second part of the question, I am informed that according to the MONITAG, Mauritius National Immunization Technical Advisory Group, elderly persons who have received the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine can be administered the anti-influenza vaccines. Technical officers of my ministry are working on a plan to facilitate vaccination of senior citizens to alleviate their hardship. Mr. Speaker, sir, a senior citizen who is about to get his first dose of COVID-19 vaccine will be allowed to get an anti-influenza vaccine 2 weeks or more prior to the first jab of his COVID-19 vaccine. Likewise, a senior citizen who has already been administered his first dose of COVID-19 vaccine will be able to get his anti-influenza vaccine 2 weeks after his first COVID-19 vaccine dose, bearing in mind that there should be a gap of 2 weeks prior to his second dose of COVID-19 vaccine. Moreover, if the above criteria cannot be met, the senior citizens will get the possibility to get their anti-influenza vaccines 2 weeks after their second dose of COVID-19 vaccine. Mr. Speaker, sir, for this year, the contract of the procurement of the vaccine has already been awarded, and the first consignment of vaccine is awaited by 10th April 2021.
Yes, thank you. With the COVID vaccine, first dose and second dose, and with the 200,000 doses of anti-flu vaccine, it's going to be a lot of vaccination that is going on to happen this year within the next 3 months or so. Can we have, from the Honourable Minister, a clear, well-thought-out plan so as to how this is going to be dispensed, whether it's going to be through caravan or whether it's going to be at the vaccination center that has been placed for COVID, for the sake of clarity to the people?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, for what is prevailing actually in Mauritius, we have already built up 2 different scenarios. One scenario, if the confinement is still here and the vaccination will be done like last year we have been doing it, that is visiting door-to-door vaccination will be carried out. And if there is no confinement, obviously we'll do the vaccines in a different setting, in a different setup.
Next with you.
B153.
Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir.
Let me make an observation. The Minister hasn't yet answered, and there is a supplementary question. Very practical.
Mr. Speaker, sir, no donation of funds has been made by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the refurbishment of mosques as yet. However, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as in August 2019, agreed to donate 6 million USD to Mauritius for the purpose of building new mosques, renovating existing mosques, and building Islamic and Arabic language schools. The Saudi authorities are considering to coordinate with the local stakeholders in Mauritius to identify and determine the nature of the assistance needed by the various mosques before coming up with an appropriate memorandum of understanding. And we understand that they may soon send a delegation to Mauritius for a visual assessment of the requirements. In fact, in a note verbal dated 16 February 2021, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Deputy Ministry for Diplomatic Affairs Management of Islamic Institutions and Bodies, have informed that Saudi Arabia would coordinate with the government of Mauritius to identify the mosques that would need such assistance. Thereafter, a detailed report evaluating the funding and the types of assistance required by the various mosques would be prepared. The Mauritian side has put forward the proposal for the Islamic Cultural Center to set up a foundation which will be responsible for coordination between the Saudi authorities and the mosques in Mauritius. The draft charter of the proposed foundation, as well as a copy of the draft MOU in Arabic, have been submitted to the Saudi authorities. Sir, our ambassador to Saudi Arabia, His Excellency Shaukat Ali Sudan, who is currently on mission abroad, is scheduled to meet with the Saudi Minister of Islamic Affairs, Dawah and Guidance this week to follow up on the matter.
Yes, thank you. I thank the new Minister of Foreign Affairs for his answer. Last year, I had asked a similar PQ with almost a similar answer, with a touch of difference. But can I ask him, how does he reconcile the fact on 3 occasions, 3 different answers are obtained? Honorable Sudan publicly announced that mo fin amen 200 million roupies in 2019. Fin amen.
No, now you're going into cross-examination.
Yeah. That's what?
That's a no, this is parliamentary question and supplementary question. Put your question straightforward.
For the mosque and for the fishermen. And now, after 2 years, no donation. The minister has said no donation. No. So how can I...
If you don't have a question...
No, I have. This is my question. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So can I rephrase my question. How does he reconcile with the fact that over a period of 2 years, we have different versions, when at the same time, funds that have been coming from Saudi Arabia...
You made your point.
Sorry, can I
you made your point.
No.
Other people are waiting for the questions to come.
Yes, just one sentence. Other funds that were promised have already arrived, and like for example, the swimming pool in Felix, that was announced at the same time, it has materialized, but this one, after 2 years, big zero.
Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, my answer is very clear. The question was about the funds, donation of funds for the refurbishment of mosques, and no mention of fishermen has been made in this question. So I gave a clear reply. I'm sure the honourable member must have understood clearly what I said.
Honourable Amir.
Thank you. Can I ask the honourable minister whether a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, has been signed between the Saudi authorities and our counterpart? And if not, why, as to date, it has not been signed?
From the information I have, Mr. Speaker, sir, no MOU has been signed as yet between the two parties. What I said is that there is a draft MOU in Arabic, which has been submitted to the Saudi authorities.
Last supplementary, Honourable Juman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the Honourable Minister tell us whether the foundation that he just mentioned set up to manage the funds, and on what basis the board members was chosen? And who are the board members?
Well, the information that I have, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that there has been a proposal on the Mauritian side, and this proposal was put forward by the ICC to set up this foundation, which will be responsible for coordination between the authorities and the mosques. And I must inform the honourable member that, in fact, it was the Saudi embassy in South Africa at one time that informed us that the government of Saudi Arabia had requested that an appropriate responsible authority be identified in Mauritius, with which the embassy intended to sign a memorandum of understanding for the disbursement of the donation. So this was the origin of the setting up of this foundation. But as far as the members of the foundation, unfortunately, I do not have the information, and I can pledge to the House that I will find out who are the members of this foundation and table the information to the Assembly.
B154.
Mr. Speaker, at the very outset, let me give a brief overview of the project Horizon Paris 2024. In fact, it all started in January 2019 when the Horizon Paris 2024 committee was set up, having as slogan, On prend le Paris. The main objective of this project was to support, monitor, and prepare Mauritian athletes until the 2024 Paris Olympics, providing them the opportunity to take part in one of the most important and prestigious sporting competitions in the world. The idea was to initiate, before the beginning of a new Olympic cycle, a project that would lead to our best potential athletes to an Olympic podium in 2024. So the ministry decided to have a well-thought plan of action in order to provide the appropriate environment to our athletes in their quest for an Olympic medal in 2024. Initially, only athletes of sports disciplines that could be competitive in 2024 Olympics were identified. But thereafter, the committee decided to provide the opportunity to all athletes, irrespective of their sport, to be selected on the basis of the following criteria. The athlete should be a potential medalist. The athlete should have a medal at continental level or be among the top 15 of the world in his or her sports disciplines. And the athlete should be within the same age group as the previous Olympic champions with respect to his or her sports discipline. In September 2019, national sports federations were invited to submit records of their athletes for consideration. Consequently, a technical committee under the chairmanship of Mr. Vivian Gangaram was set up to examine the records of 43 athletes submitted by 10 national sports federations, including athletics, boxing, cycling, weightlifting, judo, rugby, handy sports, canoe, kayak, archery, and kite surf. Today, 13 athletes have been retained, taking into consideration that this list is dynamic. As the preparation of athletes for a period of 4 years requires the right setting and necessary funding, it was decided that the private sector should be involved in this project. In this respect, Mr. Dominique Filleul, a well-known figure in the sports sector in Mauritius, was nominated as chairman of the Horizon Paris 2024 committee. I must say that so far, he has done a marvelous job in finalizing sponsorship agreements with a significant number of private companies through his own personal network. I'm satisfied that our selected athletes are being provided with the necessary medical and paramedical support, including the services of osteopaths, dentists, massage therapists, cardiologists, and physiotherapists. DNA and blood testing have been performed on our athletes so as to facilitate the design of optimized and personalized training schedules. Besides, our athletes are mentally coached twice a month. While some materials have been purchased in view of the Paralympic Games, the Horizon Paris 2024 team is presently conducting a needs analysis with respect to the materials and funds needed by 2 of our athletes that are presently overseas.
In his reply, the Minister stated that some materials have been purchased. Can we know which are these equipments and to whom they have been distributed?
Alors, Monsieur le Président, il y a donc ce que nous appelons les wheelchair gloves pour le handisport. So 5 pairs of wheelchair gloves have been donated to Noémie Alphonse, and also a foil for kite surf to Mr. Jean de Falbert from the Yachting Federation.
Can the Honourable Minister inform the House what is the cost for the preparation of one athlete for such a competition?
Mr. Speaker, preparing an athlete for the Olympics costs quite a lot amount of money. For 2 cycles of 4 years, that is 8 years. The cost per athlete comes around 1,300,000 rupees per athlete per year.
Next question.
B155.
Mr. Speaker, with regard to part A of the question, I'm informed by the Mauritius Olympic Committee that Mr. Richard Nocolin and Mervyn Claire, both boxers, have already been qualified to participate in the Games. Mr. Speaker, sir, regarding part B of the question, I'm informed by the Mauritius Olympic Committee that 1. Participation in any qualifying competition for the Tokyo Olympic Games implies that he or she will have to abide strictly to the sanitary rules and regulations of the host country. And 2, the Tokyo Organizing Committee has put in place the following protocol to ensure the safety of participants for the forthcoming Olympic Games. 3 days before traveling to Tokyo, each member of the delegation must do a PCR test. 3 weeks before traveling, the Tokyo Organizing Committee will make available a COVID-19 application to be downloaded on the smartphone of each delegate. Then, each delegate must register his or her temperature every day before traveling abroad and during his or her stay in the Olympic Village. Upon arrival in the Olympic Village, each member of the delegation will have to do another PCR test. During their stay in the Olympic Village, each member of the delegation will have to do the PCR test regularly. A global positioning system, GPS, is included in the said COVID-19 application to facilitate the organizing committee to trace members of the delegation. All members of the delegation will have to travel only in vehicles dedicated to them. No recourse shall be made to public transport. Mr. Speaker, sir, my ministry, in collaboration with the Mauritius Olympic Committee, will ensure that all vaccination facilities be put in place to the Mauritian delegation prior to departure.
May we know from the Honourable Minister whether the 2 boxers have been vaccinated as at date, and in the negative, why not?
Yes, the 2 boxers, Colin and Claire, had already been vaccinated.
Can the Honourable Minister state the number of persons who will form part of the delegation and eventually table a list of same?
For the moment, Mr. Speaker, this has not yet been finalized by the Mauritius Olympic Committee. So as soon as it is done, this will be made public.
Next PQ.
B156.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. The Land Drainage Authority is a co-opted member of the Moselman Board since November 2019. I'm informed that 849 applications have been processed at its level for the period November 2019 to March 2021. Out of these 849 applications, 17 have not been approved favorably from a land drainage perspective. Applications which have not been approved are located within the confines of flood-prone areas and are crossed by natural water path, natural drainage path. Such developments viewed to accentuate the risk of inundations of the areas concerned. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm also informed by the LDA that the region of Sainte-Croix 3 Moselman applications have been rejected at the level of the Moselman board, while letter of intent for 3 other Moselman projects have been issued on the 23rd February 2016, 8th June 2018, 15 June 2018, respectively. On those 3 sites, it is noted with concern that there has been backfilling of natural water courses. At one of the sites, namely Société Vallée de Sainte-Croix, construction works have started, but the promoter is not complying with the conditions as per its letter of intent. This has been reported to the Municipal Council of Port Louis on 3 occasions, namely 28 December 2020, 6 January 2021, and 30 March 2021. A stop order has been issued by the Municipal Council of Port Louis on the 1st April 2021, and this was not an April Fool, and I am informed that legal action are being considered. The matter is being looked into closely together with the Ministry of Local Government and Disaster Risk Management and Municipal Council of Port Louis.
L'honorable ministre est-il au courant que les travaux se poursuivent sur place et cela malgré la notice d'arrêt servie aux promoteurs?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. Unfortunately, the promoter is continuing with the works on site, and the municipality of Port Louis has been informed, and legal action is being envisaged.
You have a question?
Yes. Les habitants de Morcellement-la-Vallée ont longtemps et beaucoup souffert des inondations. L'honorable ministre peut-il nous informer s'il y a eu d'autres constructions au même endroit sur les cours d'eau naturels et peut-il nous dire quand ces permis de construction ont été octroyés?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I've already mentioned there has been 3 letters of intent and to which the conditions are not being respected. There has been 1 construction done straight on a land drainage path, and that was issued by the municipality of Port Louis on the 30th of June 2010. And unfortunately, we have noticed backfilling of land drainage, of natural drainage path, and this has been causing flooding problem in this area of Sainte Croix. Because the flooding, as per the record of the Land Drainage Authority, the first inundation occurred on the 13th February 2017, and the flash flood occurred on the 4th January 2018. And since then, we have several dates where there has been, this region has been flooded. So yes, and the Land Drainage Authority is looking into, and remedial action will have to be taken together with the municipality of Port Louis. Thank you.
Last supplementary.
Thank you. As we are talking about the Land Drainage Authority and construction on flood-prone areas, is the Minister aware of land drainage issues related to the application of construction for the Legion Hill project on the slope of Tourelle Mountain? And can the Honourable Minister state whether his ministry is overseeing problems related thereto with respect to the flood-prone area in the district? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, sir, my question relates strictly to the flood-prone area in Sainte Croix. I'll request the member to come with a substantive question.
Honourable member, the table have been advised that PQ B185, B186, B187, B188, B196, B197, B205 have been withdrawn. Next question.
B157.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the Land Drainage Authority has identified 289 flood-prone areas. Out of these, 22 flood-prone areas are located within the constituency number 4. I'm further informed by the LDA has determined and certified the region of Morcellement-la-Vallée, Le Cornu, Sainte Croix, Morcellement-Raffray, Terre Rouge, and Cité-Roma, Richter as being high-risk areas where there could be risk of loss of life or damage of property or environment in the event of downpours. Accordingly, the following projects have been earmarked by the National Development Unit for implementation in these regions. First, construction of 4 kilometers of drainage network at Morcellement-la-Vallée at an estimated amount of 140 million. The project is ongoing and has been completed up to 33%. Construction of a cut-off drain at foot of the mountain and drain network at Morcellement-Raffray at an estimated amount of 100 million. Demolition and reconstruction of culvert, including cleaning and desilting of river, provision of rock burn and construction of drain work at Cité-Roma, Richter at an estimated cost of 45 million, and upgrading of 1.2 kilometers of canal only and construction of 2 kilometers of concrete aprons at an estimated amount of 114.7 million, and the project is ongoing and has been completed up to 13%. 3 more projects are currently being undertaken in the region of Montselman, Mali, Le Haucher-Terre-Rouge, Alépée-Laval, Sainte-Croix, and Chitracout to the tune of 21.7 million. Mr. Speaker, I'm also informed that the local authorities are as well implementing minor water accumulation problems in localities such as Cité-la-Cure, Sainte-Croix, Vallée-des-Prés to the tune of 2.6 million. Further, the Road Development Authority has also been addressing flooding as regards to water accumulation on classified roads. During the financial year 2021, 3 projects have been completed by the RDA, namely the construction of footpath and cross drains and roadside drains in the region of Vallée-des-Prés, Notre-Dame and Crèvecoeur to the tune of 24.8 million. Mr. Speaker, as such, it is noted that within the constituency number 4, there are 16 drain projects being undertaken by the implementing agency, which are valued at approximately 449.8 million, with a view to attenuate flooding in the flood-prone regions. And I also would like to take this opportunity to thank my colleague elected in that constituency for their support to achieve those works. Thank you.
And the Minister advise if upon completion of these mentioned projects, same are handed over to the relevant authorities and stakeholders for maintenance or even monitoring.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, all the projects after completion, either by the NDU mainly, are given to the local authorities for them to maintain, whereas those that are being done by the RDA are being maintained by the RDA themselves. Thank you.
Last supplementary.
One of the causes of flooding is due to illegal dumping in the water courses. Can the Honourable Minister advise whether he envisages a holistic approach may be inclusive of educational or informational campaign to sensitize the population?
Mr. Speaker, the LDA is carrying out sensitization campaigns before the start of each rainy season. Colleagues must have notice of the campaign that has been happening on TV and other medias. And to this effect, the Land Drainage Authority has embarked on an aggressive sensitization campaign with our youngsters in colleges and primary schools, they being the opinion leaders and the leaders of tomorrow. And while all these efforts and the collaboration of the public in constituency number 4, we are going to build resilience to inundation in the flood-prone areas. Thank you.
Next question.
B158.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I will reply to PQ B158 and PQ B171 together. They are related to the same subject matter. As regard to Part A of PQ B158, I'm informed that on 25th March 2021, the result of a PCR test done on the same day on one nursing staff attached to the dialysis unit at Suivez Hospital revealed that the staff was COVID-19 positive. Given that this staff was working at the dialysis unit at Suivez Hospital, PCR tests were carried out on all the patients and the staff of the dialysis unit of the hospital on 26 March 2021. On that very same day, the PCR test revealed that 7 staff, including doctors, nurses, attendants, and 15 patients were tested COVID-19 positive. The COVID-19 tested positive patients were all admitted to the ENT hospital initially, pending the disinfection of the new Suivez Hospital. On 27 March 2021, after the disinfection of the whole Suivez Hospital, the COVID-19 positive dialysis patients were readmitted in Suivez Hospital for their treatment on the following day. The other dialysis patients and other staff who were tested negative were quarantined at Tamasa Hotel on 26 March 2021 and are being regularly monitored. Mr. Speaker, sir, as regard to Part B of the question, I am informed that there were already 2 doctors posted at Tamasa Hotel on 26 March 2021 when the dialysis patients were admitted. On the same day, the visit of doctors and nurses started as from 15:30 hours. Regular visits are effected daily by doctors and nurses at different time frames starting from 6:30 in the morning till late at night. Furthermore, as from 30th March 2021, one additional doctor who is conversant with dialysis has been posted at Tamasa Hotel to monitor all the COVID-19 negative dialysis patients who are in quarantine. The doctor accompanies the patients daily from Tamasa Hotel to Suivez Hospital and back and stays with the patient till all dialysis sessions are completed. Mr. Speaker, sir, 4 dialysis sessions are being carried out daily at Suivez Hospital. 3 sessions for COVID-19 negative dialysis patients and 1 late session for COVID-19 positive dialysis patients. As from 28 March 2021, 1 additional doctor has been permanently posted at the isolation ward at Suivez Hospital to look after the COVID-19 positive patients who have their sessions in the night, that is the last session at 20 hours. Furthermore, 1 nephrologist from Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital visits all patients admitted at Suivez Hospital and Tamasa Hotel daily for follow-up. Mr. Speaker, sir, as regard to Part C of PQ B158 and PQ B171, I can assure the House that the dialysis treatment being provided to all patients is according to required protocols and according to the advice from the nephrologist. I must also add that a special diet protocol is being applied whereby a nutritionist from the hospital is in constant communication with the catering manager at Tamasa Hotel to ensure strict adherence to dietary requirements for dialysis patients. Furthermore, psychological support is being provided by 2 psychologists posted at Nehru Hospital to ensure that dialysis patients do not suffer from any mental stress that may negatively impact their health. As an additional measure, my ministry has also put in place a special arrangement since Friday, 2nd April, to allow 1 relative to accompany and support the dialysis patient at Tamasa Hotel.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. L'honorable ministre peut-il nous dire pourquoi des dispositions n'avaient pas été prises par son ministère le 26 mars pour assurer une admission convenable et moins stressante de ces patients à l'hôtel Tamasa, qui étaient déjà en état de choc. Et je dois souligner qu'ils ont été forcés à rester pendant 2 heures, de 20h à 22h, dans un autobus. Et il a fallu que j'intervienne personnellement auprès de l'honorable ministre pour qu'ils aient enfin accès à l'intérieur de l'établissement hôtelier, le Tamasa, converti en centre de quarantaine. Peut-on savoir pourquoi ils n'ont pas eu droit à une admission moins stressante?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the honourable member. On that day, given that the number of patients, dialysis patients that we have, and the different sessions being carried out for dialysis, it is obvious that this may take some time to get them admitted in a quarantine center. I agree with him that there was some delay, but at the same time, we have to see other aspects of the patient, because dialysis patients, they have some special need and we have to cater for all those needs. That's why there has been such a delay.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. J'apprends que le ministère autorise les proches qui le souhaitent à séjourner avec les patients dialysés après avoir signé un consent form. Le ministre peut-il déposer à l'Assemblée une copie du consent form et nous dire si c'est une décision raisonnable d'exposer un autre membre de la famille à la contamination du virus?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I believe that we understand how the dialysis patients, they are fragile, and at the same time that we have to cater for their needs. Families of dialysis patients have requested that they would wish to stay with their relative, and the ministry has provided the option. If they stay their relative, they will be exposed. And with that agreement, that the relatives accept to stay with their patients, and that's what we have been doing. We have doing that for the benefit of the dialysis patient, for their well-being.
Can the minister state the number of patients doing dialysis in quarantine and the number of medical staff posted, nursing officers, healthcare assistants, general practitioners and specialists posted there for their treatment on a daily basis?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I have the number of patients doing dialysis staying at Tamasa Hotel. They are in all 52 patients. But for the staff, I can assure the honourable member that we have adequate staff catering for the different needs of these patients.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Étant donné que nos hôpitaux font face à un manque important de personnel, ce qu'on a compris actuellement, car plusieurs d'entre eux sont en quarantaine, est-ce que le ministre pourrait indiquer à la Chambre si son ministère envisage de faire appel au personnel du privé, paramédical du privé?
Mr. Speaker, sir, even personnel working in the private sector, they are also being tested positive. They are also facing the same problem that the public sector is facing. But I can assure the member that the hospitals, be it in the private or in the public sector, we are coping with this situation and we are doing it properly.
Last supplementary.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président. L'honorable ministre peut-il nous dire pourquoi, d'après les informations qui me sont parvenues, et malgré ce qu'il vient d'annoncer, aucune équipe médicale n'est sur place en permanence à l'hôtel Tamasa, afin de veiller à ce que ces patients dialysés reçoivent les soins appropriés, surtout en raison de la complexité de leurs conditions. L'honorable ministre peut-il nous dire pourquoi, malgré lui, maintenant, il vient d'affirmer...
Don't expand your question.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the quarantine centers, all the quarantine centers, there are medical staff, there are doctors who are working in there. We call them the quarantine officers, who are permanently posted in quarantine centers, especially when we know that these patients, dialysis patients, will require additional. That's why there are 2 doctors posted at that center from the very beginning. And ultimately, we have done arrangement to get more additional doctors, because at the same time, we also have to look for those patients who have been tested positive. In my reply, I've given the different details, how the operations have been carried out, so that to satisfy those patients.
Next PQ. Next, Honorable Lobin.
Sorry, excuse me. B159, sorry, excuse me. Yeah.
Monsieur le Président, le Self-Employed Assistance Scheme a été mis sur pied, comme je l'ai indiqué dans ma réponse à la question parlementaire B151, en mars 2020 afin de fournir une aide financière aux travailleurs indépendants impactés par la pandémie de la Covid-19. Parmi ces travailleurs indépendants éligibles figuraient les artistes ne pouvant pas exercer en raison du confinement décrété à cette période. Le 31 mai 2020, le gouvernement a par ailleurs pris la décision de maintenir cette aide financière aux travailleurs indépendants opérant dans le secteur touristique à compter du mois de juin 2020 et ce jusqu'en juin 2021. Cela comprend notamment les artistes se produisant dans les hôtels et autres lieux touristiques. Monsieur le Président, j'ai été informé par la MRA que de la mi-mars 2020 à mai 2020, tous les travailleurs indépendants, y compris les artistes, ont pu bénéficier de l'aide financière dans le cadre du Self-Employed Assistance Scheme. À partir du juin 2020, tout membre de la Mauritius Society of Authors, établi en vertu de la Copyright Act et répondant aux critères d'éligibilité du régime, a été considéré comme éligible à cette aide financière. En outre, afin de ne pas pénaliser les artistes n'étant pas membres de la MASA, la MRA accepte de leur part les preuves démontrant qu'ils se produisaient effectivement dans des hôtels ou autres lieux touristiques. En ce qui concerne la partie A de la question, en moyenne, 367 artistes ont reçu une allocation au titre du Self-Employed Assistance Scheme pour la période allant de juin 2020 à février 2021. Un montant total de 17 millions de roupies a effectivement été déboursé à cet effet. Pour rappel, pour le mois de mars 2021, un artiste se produisant dans le secteur du tourisme est en droit d'obtenir une aide financière totale de 15 287 roupies. Un artiste qui se produit en dehors du secteur du tourisme est, lui, en droit d'obtenir une aide financière totale de 12 644 roupies. Monsieur le Président, pour ce qui est de la partie B de la question, tous les artistes qui répondent aux critères d'éligibilité du Self-Employed Assistance Scheme ont bénéficié de l'aide financière. Merci.
Monsieur le Président, je vous remercie. Je suis en présence des lettres qui ont été adressées à la MRA par une artiste elle-même, Mme Joëlle Corrette, où il est question qu'un certain nombre d'artistes, d'hôtels en particulier, soit ils n'ont jamais reçu ou ont des difficultés à obtenir leur Self-Employed Assistance Allowance. Donc, l'honorable ministre peut-il nous dire d'abord s'il a déjà pris connaissance de ces lettres que je vais déposer d'ailleurs, si oui, d'indiquer les actions qui ont été prises une fois pour toutes pour régler ce problème et qui dure malheureusement afin de soulager ces artistes qui sont financièrement très affectés.
Monsieur le Président, je remercie l'honorable membre pour cette question supplémentaire. Non, je ne suis pas en présence de cette lettre et dès que vous allez me faire parvenir cette lettre, je vais prendre connaissance et je vais travailler avec la MRA pour trouver une solution à cette requête.
Next, PQ.
B160, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to part A1 of the question, I'm informed by the Municipal Council of Aqua Phoenix that the construction of the incinerator building at Solferino was completed on the 12th of June 2020. As regards the installation of the incinerator equipment, same one was installed since 17th of February 2020. However, it is to be noted that the testing and commissioning initially scheduled for March 2020 by the technical team of the supplier, namely Kanta Electrical India Limited, had to be postponed due to the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic and the closure of the border back in March 2020, following the first visit to Mauritius in December 2019. With the assistance of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade, the technical team, comprised of 2 technicians, arrived in Mauritius on the 28th of November 2020. After successful quarantine, the technical team started the assignment, and the incinerator had already been tested. However, its commissioning, which was scheduled for 19th of March 2021, had been postponed due to the present COVID-19 confinement. As you know, we went to lockdown on the 10th of March 2021. For part B1 of the question, I'm informed by the Municipal Council of Aqua Phoenix
that following an open advertised bidding exercise for the construction of the building to house the incinerator, the contract was awarded to Ganesen Construction Limited. With regard to part B2 of the question, my ministry has invited bids through the Exim Bank of India as the project is being funded under the Indian line of credit. The contract was awarded to Kanta Electrical India Limited, which was the only bidder and whose bid was found to be responsive. Moreover, a due diligence exercise was conducted by the Exim Bank of India.
We know from the Vice Prime Minister, who is the local representative of Kanta Electricals India in Mauritius?
The local representative is Steam House, represented by Monsieur Lafrisière.
Next PQ.
B169, please. 161, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed by the Chief Executive of the Municipal Council of Vakwa Phoenix that the PCR testing exercise were conducted in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Wellness on the 12th, 13th, and 14th of March 2021 for employees of the scavenging units at the SMF quarters in Vakwa. It is to be noted that out of 262 employees, a total of only 114 employees have undergone a PCR test, whereas the remaining employees were unwilling to undergo the PCR despite being requested to do so. Mr. Speaker, with respect to Part B of the question, in line with the strategy of the government to have all the frontliners of the public sector vaccinated as a priority, arrangements were made for all frontliners of local authorities to be vaccinated during the first week of the national vaccination program. This category includes the scavenging unit of all municipal and district council. Accordingly, employees of the scavenging section of the Municipal Council of Vakwa Phoenix were scheduled to be vaccinated on the 15th and 16th of March 2021. Out of the 262 employees, only 134 employees were administered the COVID vaccine. The remaining employees did not turn up for vaccination. With regard to Part C of the question, I'm informed that the protective equipment include double insulated layer rubber gloves, fluorescent waistcoat, rubber boots, and rain suit are provided to each refuse collector on an annual basis. And for the financial year 2020-2021, same were provided to all of them in August 2020. Moreover, with the resurgence of the COVID-19 pandemic, refuse collectors have been provided with reusable masks, reusable overall, and sanitizer per scavenging team. In addition, the personal protective equipment are reissued as and when required, especially upon wear and tear.
Is the Honourable Vice Prime Minister aware that only 2 masks per month are being provided to those employees and they are working in very difficult and dirty conditions? Is it sufficient to provide them with only 2 masks per month?
I know I've just mentioned is 2 reusable masks, and which is being provided if needs be. It is being given once they make a case to the health and safety officer, they are given more masks.
Merci. Je pense que nous sommes tous d'accord que les éboueurs sont nos héros de l'ombre qui assurent notre bien-être au quotidien en ramassant nos déchets. Le ministre n'est-il pas d'accord qu'eux aussi mériteraient l'allocation de 15 000 roupies qui était allouée aux frontliners?
Mr. Speaker, that's not part of the question, please.
Monsieur le Président, Monsieur le Président, j'irai dans la même ligne que mon collègue, l'honorable Kouchal Lobine. Monsieur le ministre, c'est un fait que nous recevons pas mal d'appels tous les jours. Les éboueurs de Vakwa Phoenix tombent dans la zone rouge. Tous les jours, ils nous appellent en ce qui concerne les équipements. C'est effectivement le cas, comme disait mon collègue, ils n'ont que 2 paires de gants et des masques. 2. Depuis le dernier confinement, ce jour, ils n'ont pas changé leurs habits. Donc, s'il vous plaît, si vous pouvez intervenir auprès de la municipalité pour dire au moins la vérité, pas nous raconter ce qu'il dit.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I've just replied. They are given two, but if this is not sufficient, they contact the health and safety officer. They'll be given more masks.
Next speaker.
I've just replied that.
B162, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in reply to part A of the question, I wish to inform the House that the female nursing officer working at Suivez Hospital was tested COVID-19 positive on 25th March 2021 after she went for a screening test as she was having some mild symptoms. The spouse of the female nursing officer was thereafter contacted by the contact tracing team as per the protocol for contact tracing of my ministry for a nasopharyngeal swab. The test result of the latter was COVID-19 positive on 26 March 2021. As regard to part B of the question, I am informed that the female nursing officer has not been vaccinated. However, the spouse of the nursing officer was vaccinated on 5th February 2021. It should be noted that after the PCR test, an in-depth study of the PCR results revealed that the spouse of the nursing officer only had traces of the virus, and that the amount of virus he had in his body was not sufficient for him to be infectious. The result might be explained by the fact that as the spouse was vaccinated, he was protected from infection, and the vaccine has prevented the multiplication of the virus to which he was exposed to. He was therefore non-infectious for those around him.
MP Lobien.
Is it not the case, Honourable Minister, that this could be a good case study to review the protocols that are in place with regards to those working in those hospitals and health departments?
Yes. Thank you, Honourable Member, that this is a case study for us to see, even those who have been vaccinated, and whenever the tests have been, we have conducted the test also revealed the lower side of infectious, and that would help the ministry to change the protocol in the days, in the weeks to come.
MP Wuchit.
What measures are being taken to encourage nurses island-wise who have not been vaccinated against COVID-19 to receive such vaccination, and when they estimate all nurses will be vaccinated?
Mr. Speaker, sir, following this, what has happened recently, the ministry has given the opportunity for the staff of the working in the different hospitals, in the different health setup to get vaccinated. I don't have the figures now. From Thursday to last week, from Tuesday to Saturday, they have been given the priority, and I believe many of them, and we have crossed, because in the beginning, we were around 30% of the health personnel being vaccinated. The figures will show that we have already crossed 50 to 60% of staff being vaccinated.
MP Umia.
Thank you. Can I ask the Honourable Minister, he mentioned a very interesting point concerning the amount of virus within an individual, subject that amount may cause further infection. I'm sure he's talking about the question. The question is, he's definitely talking about cycle threshold, and whether he's now using that as a concept to evaluate the infectivity of post-quarantine transmission.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, the member rightly pointed out that the ministry is working on the degree of positivity that can be infectious. Whatever, I have some documents related to that. Various recognized and published studies also show that the vaccines directly contribute to drastically reduce the viral load in case of infection. The viral load is the amount of virus per millimeter cube of a collected secretion sample. In all viral diseases, it is important that a certain amount of the virus is injected, so that to allow the vaccinated person to be infected. If the amount of inoculated virus is above a given threshold, the person cannot be infected, and this even if the person is in contact with the virus. I believe this is the... Yeah.
MP Gagna Posad, next question.
B163.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm circulating the required information in respect of the advices attached to my ministry since November 2019.
Honorable Minister, may I know how many out of these advisors sit as board members in different councils, organizations, which fall under your purview, under the purview of your ministry?
None of them, Mr. Speaker, sir. Sorry. Mr. Suresh Manbud is in fact a board member of the UDM.
Next question.
B164.
Mr. Speaker, sir, on the 23rd January 2017, the Natation Scolaire project was launched by the Prime Minister. This project is being implemented in collaboration with the Mauritius Sports Council. The main objective of the project is to teach swimming to pupils of grade 4 so as to prepare them in the skills of swimming with the goal of making them autonomous swimmers. We must not forget that we live in an island and we must ensure that the young people learn to swim and develop their survival skills. The project, which initially concerned 30 primary schools selected within an accessible range of the 9 swimming pools of the Ministry of Youth Empowerment, Sports and Recreation, has now been rolled out in 234 primary schools throughout the island. Since 2017, as at date, some 14,052 pupils have participated in the project. To ensure that a larger number of pupils benefit from the program, in the budget 2018-2019, it was announced that 4 bassins d'apprentissage will be constructed, 1 in each zone. With regard to part A of the question, I'm informed that the letters of award for the construction of 3 bassins d'apprentissage, namely at Plaine des Papayes Government School, Melrose Government School, and Père Sobrian Government School, have been issued as at date. I must draw the attention of the House that the tenders were launched on 3 occasions and had to be cancelled due to non-responsiveness of bids. The contract agreements for the construction of bassins d'apprentissage at Plaine des Papayes Government School and Père Sobrian Government Schools have not been signed yet. Yet in view of pending submission of proper insurance policies and performance guarantees. That of Melrose Government School has been awarded for a contract value of 37 million rupees to Kisten Enterprise Limited. For Cascavel Government School, the project could not be implemented earlier as major changes had to be made in the design in view of the relocation of the project. The bid documents are now ready for launching, but had to be postponed due to the lockdown. With regard to part B of the question, we do not have any comprehensive report at this stage.
Given that rebidding had to take place, did the Ministry of Education carry out a feasibility study and a good planning prior to inviting bids initially?
Mr. Speaker, sir, this was in fact done. But as I've said earlier, we had to relaunch the bids because we did not have responsive bidders.
Next PQ.
B165.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in fact, the provision made in the 2016-2017 budget was meant for the planning and preparation phase for gymnasium projects in 6 state secondary schools. As such, actual construction works were expected to start in the financial year 2017-2018. Mr. Speaker, sir, in fact, bids for 2 projects, namely Goodlands SSS and Floreal SSS, were launched in January 2017. However, no responsive bids were received. 2 additional bidding documents for Sodnak SSS and Eben SSS were submitted to the CPB in 2018 for launching. However, since no responsive bids were received during discussions held between CPB, representatives of the Ministry of Natural Infrastructure and Community Development, and my ministry, the CPB advised to proceed with a traditional mode of procurement. Mr. Speaker, sir, the second reason for the delay in the implementation of the multipurpose hall projects was that the MNI, the Ministry of National Infrastructure, emphasized the need for geotechnical investigations to be carried out. And these investigations were not factored in the initial time frame. This involved further delay for procurement procedures with respect to the geotechnical investigations. Mr. Speaker, sir, another reason for the delay in the expansion is the expansion of the scope of works. Initially, the project consisted of only the provision of a gymnasium. However, as a decision was taken by the ministry to proceed with a traditional procurement at the level of MNI, this provided us with the opportunity to include other facilities which would provide long-term benefits to the school users and community in the vicinity. New features such as outdoor playgrounds, football grounds, volleyball pitches, bus laybys, parking bays, and new access facilities were added to the project. As at date, the bidding documents have been finalized for 2 projects, namely Goodlands SSS and Eben SSS, and will be launched shortly. The remaining 4 projects are at the design stage at the MNI, and it is expected that the latter will require at least 8 months to finalize all designs and bidding documents for the same to be launched.
Next question.
May I know from the Honourable Minister, what is the amount representing liquidated damages for delays that have been imposed on the contractors, causing unnecessary delays?
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, sir, the awards were not done yet. So no liquidated damages were...
B166.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I will reply to PQ B166. I'm informed that a works order for the upgrading of Melville-Goodland Link Road, commonly known as Cali Road, over a length of about 1 kilometer, was issued to Gamma Construction Limited on the 25th October 2017 for an amount of 5.5 million, including VAT. Works started December 2017 and were to be completed in March 2018. However, during execution of works, signs of major distress were noted along several sections of the road, and the road even collapsed at one particular section. Consequently, the road was partly closed to traffic in view of the hazard it represented. It was observed that the cause of distress and collapse was due to the fact that the road structure was built on dry rock fill embankment reaching about 5 meters at some places. As such, simply upgrading the road as initially envisaged would have not been adequate to permanently stabilize the road. The works order issued to Gamma Construction Limited was therefore cancelled as permanent stabilization of the road was outside the scope of works of the initial project. Subsequently, in view of the complexity of the works to be carried out, the National Development Unit appointed Siavanjing Yadav and Partners Consulting Engineers Limited as consultant in July 2018 for identification of appropriate solutions for full upgrading of the road. As per the consultant recommendation, the cost of remedial work for the whole road was estimated at about 40 million rupees. In view of the budgetary constraint of the National Development Unit, decided in the first instance to proceed with remedial works at the collapsed section. This work was completed September 2019 and the road was made operational. The second phase of the works, which comprised construction of retaining walls, upgrading of the road surface, associated work estimated at 30 million rupees, is scheduled to be carried out during the next financial year, subject to availability of funds. But I'm happy to inform, with the collaboration of my two colleagues, the Minister Tilak and PPS Anjiv Hamdani, we have revisited the priorities of the project in the constituency, and given that we have received additional funds from Ministry of Finance under the COVID fund, we will be in a position to issue the works order very soon to build this road again. Thank you.
B167.
Mr. Speaker, sir, following the grounding of MV Wakasio at Point Desni on 25 July 2020 and the ensuing oil spill on 6 August 2020, fishing restrictions were imposed in the regions affected by the oil spill as per Government Notice number 1148 of 2020. To compensate the fisher community for the economic loss, Government decided to pay monthly solidarity grant of 10,200 rupees to registered artisanal fishers, registered fishmongers and applicant fishers in the affected regions for not being able to carry out their fishing and related activities. Some 613 off-lagoon and 18 in-lagoon registered artisanal fishers, 174 registered fishmongers, and 210 applicant fishers concerned were paid solidarity grant amounting to around 45 million rupees for the period from August 2020 to 11th December 2020 from the special fund account created by the Treasury under the Prime Minister's Relief Fund. As at date, the amount of around 45 million rupees has already been reimbursed by the insurer of MV Wakasho, that is the Japan Protection and Indemnity P&I Club. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to inform the House that following the upliftment of the restriction for off-lagoon fishing as from 12 December 2020, my ministry had received representation from off-lagoon fishers regarding difficulties encountered by them for obtaining live baits from the lagoon in the affected regions to carry out their fishing activities. Government had given due consideration to the representation made by the fishers, and a meeting was chaired by the Attorney General with inter alia the insurer of MV Wakashu. After discussion, the Japan Protection and Indemnity P&I Club eventually agreed to the extension of the solidarity grant to the registered artisanal fishers, registered fishmongers, and applicant fishers until the resumption of in-lagoon fishing. An additional amount of approximately 38 million rupees were therefore disbursed to the registered artisanal fishers, fishmongers, and applicant fishers as solidarity grant for the period from 12 December 2020 to end of March 2021. The reimbursement of the amount of approximately 38 million rupees by the Japan Protection P&I Club is in the process. Therefore, a total amount of around 83 million rupees has been paid as solidarity grant to the registered artisanal fishers, fishmongers, and applicant fishers in the affected region as solidarity grant for the period from August 2020 to March 2021. Therefore, the duration for the restriction of fishing activities is started as from 10th of August up to 29th of March 2021, that is around 8 months. I'm tabling a summary of the solidarity grant paid. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to inform the House that the solidarity grant paid to the registered artisanal fishers, registered fishmongers, and applicant fishers is only part of the compensation to be claimed from the insurer of MV Wakashu. My ministry is working out the remaining amount to be paid to them based on the monthly average catch for the period August to December for the last 3 years to account for the economic loss which will be submitted to the insurer for compensation.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. J'ai lu le communiqué en date du 25 janvier 2021 de l'assureur du MV Wakasho mentionné par le ministre, Japan P&I Club, Et j'ai lu dans le communiqué qu'il y a à ce jour 3000 demandes individuelles de réclamation qui ont été reçues et déjà traitées par des experts du Japon et de Maurice. Alors vous l'avez mentionné, Monsieur le ministre, dans votre réponse préalable. Pouvez-vous nous dire sur ces 3000 demandes, combien concernent les pêcheurs et les baignants? Quel est le montant total d'indemnisation et quand seront payées ces indemnisations?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I will invite the honourable member to come with a specific question because his question related only to fishermen, the registered fishermen, the fishmongers and the applicant fishers. As regarding the other claims that have been submitted, it has been done through the e-platform, that is a 3,297, I think, 3,267 claims. And I understand that 290 have been paid so far. So I will invite, because I just have the part of the information. If we come with a specific question, I could answer. And did answer only for the fisher community.
The table has advised that PQ 184 has been withdrawn. The time is already over.
Motion.
Move that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 1910.
The question is that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Those in favour say aye, those against say no. Aye. The ayes have it.
Statements by ministers.
Prime Minister.
Speaker, sir, I have a statement to make in response to a supplementary question raised by Honourable Richard Duval, following my reply to parliamentary question B72 at the sitting of 30th of March 2021. In his supplementary question, Honourable Richard Duval sought confirmation as to whether the face recognition component of the Safe City project had already been activated. I have sought clarifications from the Commissioner of Police, and I have been informed that the face recognition technology is one of the components of the cameras installed under the Safe City project. It is a biometric software application which is capable of uniquely identifying or verifying a person by comparing and analyzing patterns based on the person's facial contours. This technology will be used for tracking the movements of habitual criminals, wanted persons, and missing persons. The pictures of these categories of people will be uploaded on the system database by trained and authorized police officers. Then only the face recognition technology component of the Safe City cameras will be put to use. As at now, the face recognition component is not yet operational as it is at a testing and validation stage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Following the reference made to the free health personnel, namely Mr. B and Mr. A by the Honourable Leader of Opposition during this morning's private notice question, I wish to make the following statement. Mr. Speaker, sir, the patient RMR came from India in a bad state of health following pre-existing health condition on 9th January 2021 after a failed liver transplant. The patient was admitted to New York Hospital on the 10th January 2021 and was tested imported positive for COVID-19 on the 17th January 2021. The patient was transferred to ENT Hospital for treatment on the 17th January 2021. On the 24th January 2021, the patient collapsed and passed away at 5:55 in the morning. The death was not accounted as a COVID-19 death as per the definition of WHO, given that the late patient was suffering from other health problems. The son of the late patient, RMR, Mr. HR, 24 years old, who accompanied him for overseas treatment was also tested imported positive on 17th January 2021. Mr. Speaker, sir, the three healthcare personnel from Ministry of Health and Wellness, namely Mr. B, and Mr. A, who worked at isolation ward with the late patient RMR at New Suyac Hospital, were quarantined at Pointe-du-Sable Recreational Center on 20th January 2021 as per protocol. They were tested positive during their quarantine on 24th January 2021. That same day, they were transferred to treatment center at ENT. All members of the staff were quarantined at Pointe-du-Sable Recreational Center along with the 3 positive staff. Their contacts, a total of 20 persons, stayed on a prolonged isolation period of 14 days at Pointe-du-Piment Recreational Center. Sequencing of the virus of the late patient RMR, his son Mr. HR, and Dr. A, staff of New Suyac Hospital, was effected in South Africa. The samples were sent on 4 February 2021 and the results were received on 6 March 2021. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that the samples for the first 34 detected local cases as from 5th March 2021 were sent for analysis in South Africa on 13th March 2021 and the results were received on 24th March 2021. It was found that the lineage of the late patient RMR, his son Mr. HR, and Dr. A is not the same as the one currently in circulation in Mauritius. Further investigation and sequencing is being carried out on 59 samples of incoming passengers and 101 samples from current local cases which have been sent to South Africa on 31st March 2021 in the quest for research on patient 0. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to the statement made by the Honourable Leader of Opposition to the effect that information on the free healthcare personnel infected by the virus was not communicated to the public, I am hereby tabling a copy of the 2 press releases dated 25th and 27th January 2021 respectively, which were issued to the press through Government Information Service informing about the contamination of the free healthcare personnel. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Public bill, first reading.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Construction Industry Development Board Amendment Bill number 5 of 2021 be read the first time.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the House be adjourned to Tuesday, the 20th of April at 11:30 a.m.
The question is that the House be adjourned to Tuesday, 20th April 2021 at 11:30 a.m. Those in favour say aye, those against say no. Aye. The House stands adjourned. Adjournment matter. MP Ariane Navarre.
Oui. Passer l'autre tout à l'heure. Merci, Monsieur le Président. Ma requête s'adresse à la vice-première ministre et ministre de l'Éducation et concerne le sort du créole mauricien comme langue optionnelle dans nos écoles. Introduite dès 2012 comme langue optionnelle parmi d'autres langues, le créole mauricien a connu un intérêt certain. À ce jour, 9 000 élèves étudient cette langue, 3 000 au primaire et 6 000 au secondaire, soit en grade 7, 8 et 9. L'année dernière, 1 900 élèves de grade 10 ont exprimé leur intention d'étudier le créole mauricien avec l'intention de l'apprendre en SI et HSI éventuellement. Or, il paraît que le créole mauricien ne sera pas examinable en SI et HSI. Tout le monde est dans le flou, dans un flou total. Les élèves, de même que les établissements scolaires. Le cabinet a annoncé vendredi dernier la mise sur pied d'un comité présidé par le Premier ministre. Mais entre-temps, qu'adviendra-t-il de ces enfants? Est-ce qu'il y a vraiment une volonté sur le sujet par le gouvernement? Pourquoi un comité maintenant, alors que les cours ont commencé depuis 2012? Gouverner, n'est-ce pas prévoir, Monsieur le Président? N'est-ce pas là une discrimination flagrante envers ces enfants qui ont opté pour le créole mauricien comme langue optionnelle? Ma deuxième requête concerne le paiement des frais d'examen pour le SI. Un des critères pour bénéficier des subsides est le taux de présence de l'étudiant pendant l'année.